everybody, how's it going? This is Steven coming at you from the Last from the Past reviews. Today we're just going to take it easy, chat with you guys for about an hour or so, talk about the Pokemon generations. Pokemon Scarlet and Violet came out recently, and a lot of people have been playing it. I've been playing it, not on stream, but mostly at work, actually. I've, during my downtime at work, just sitting there playing. Been caught a couple of shinies so far, which is always fun. I've been shiny hunting for, I don't know, about 8-9 months now. I wasn't into it for a long time. I've been playing Pokemon since 1997, but I didn't really get into shiny hunting until a bit more recently. Actually, I'll talk about that during my review of how it sort of started. And so that's been kind of nice, I guess, but I've been playing it and just thinking back on previous generations of Pokemon and just sort of been collecting my thoughts on some of them. This isn't going to be a super in-depth review, just sort of a very surface level, my feelings about all of the different generations over the years. And we're going to discuss it, and you guys let me know what your favorite Pokemon is, your favorite individual Pokemon is, if you have one, your favorite Pokemon game. Tell me why. We can discuss that. Maybe you'll have different views to me on this. So yeah, let's start by saying hi to the chat. We got your Bonnie in here. I've been uploading seasons of Pokemon for my friend so he can get his 5-year-old daughter into it, and I'm only on season 4. Oof. Pokemon, I really only watched the show when it was, Generation 1, when it was still pretty new. That's the only time I got into the show. In fact, I had a good period where I wasn't really playing the games. I mean, I'll get into that during my discussion about the games as well. But yeah, I didn't stick with it much after the first movie came out. Like, I went and saw the first movie in theaters, like I had to go. That was like many people in my generation, I was like the target demographic for Generation 1. And so when the movie came out, I had to go see it. I dragged my mom to the theaters because I think I might have been like 9-10 years old at the time. I'm not sure what year it came out. I'd have to look that up. But yeah, and then I needed it on VHS, and I watched it several times. And I gotta say, like, it might be rose-tinted glasses, me thinking back on it, but I really enjoyed the first Pokemon movie, and I think it was actually a pretty solid film if you were into the franchise. I think it was actually pretty solid. I don't know if it really held up or if that's just like 9-year-old brain thinking that it was cool, but we'll see. Also, hail, and another hail to Small Time Republic. How's it going, buddy? The correct answer is Dragonite. Why else would Lance have 3? Yeah, that was always, they had the Dragon Tamer, the Dragon Master as the final of the Elite Four, but there's only one actual dragon Pokemon. Well, 3 technically. One dragon evolution in the original games, and that's, Dragon, Dratini, Dragonair, Dragonite. Those are the only actual dragon Pokemon in the first game. Gyarados is not. He's flying water. Charizard, I think Charizard in the first game was just fire in Gen 1. I think it was Gens 2 and beyond he became fire and flying, but he's not actually a dragon. So they kind of had to give him like 3 Dragonites, which I'll say they gave him all different movesets, so that kind of helped a little bit. But I do rather like Dragonite. My personal favorite has been for a long time, and it's more an aesthetic choice. I'd say for a Pokemon that I'm going to have in my party, Dragon is probably my favorite type. So Dragonite up there. He's the most dragon-looking of the dragon-type Pokemons, with the exception of Charizard, who, as I said, is not dragon-type. But, I think Brand Pooh Bear, another Pokemon streamer, he said that, like, Charizard isn't a dragon Pokemon, but if there was a dragon-only club, they'd let Charizard in. Be like, you're close enough, bro, come on in. But my favorite was always Sandshrew. Loved me some Sandshrew. I actually have a shiny one, I think, on one of my copies of Omega Ruby. I got a shiny Sandshrew. Quite enjoy that one. I was never into it truly because nothing ever perished, but I understood. Yeah, I understand that, I think. Talking about the show. And Daniel, how's it going? Glad to have you here. Hail. Yes, Daniel, since you're just coming in, we're talking about Pokemon. Not sure if you're a fan, but that's the discussion today. And you know what? We're going to hop right into it. We're going to start with Generation 1. The generation I started out in, like I said before, I was like the perfect target demographic age for it. I was 7 when Pokemon. It was just before my 7th birthday when Generation 1 hit shelves in America, and like literally within a week or two, I want to say was my 7th birthday. In fact, I'm going to Google this. I'm going to look this up because it might. It's not really important. Let's see. Pokemon. We'll just go with blue because that was my favorite when I was a kid. Release date. So let's see. Initial release date was February 27th, 1996. When did it release in America? Release date US, because that's the Japanese release date. All right, September 28th, 1998. Okay, so it was right before my 8th birthday. Then that's like literally a week and a half before my 8th birthday. So that was, perfect timing for me. I got a lime green Game Boy Color, Pokemon Red and Blue for my birthday that year, and it couldn't have been a better present. I still have my blue right here, peeled off label, but still got it. I loved that game when I was a kid. I played the ever-loving shit out of it. And I'm there with you, Duck Dangerously, Blastoise. That was one of my favorites as well. I've got a little Blastoise here. Go straight again. Little Blastoise wind-up toys, missing his arm because I made it back in it had to have been the 90s when I made this. I made it with my grandfather. So, yep, and I don't wind them up because the mechanisms are weird. Got a Blastoise, and I have got a Nidoking. So Generation 1 was a big one for me. But I will say I've actually played back through Generation 1 recently, and while it hit right at the right time for the right people when it came out, I gotta say that game has some issues, and when you've played farther into the generations, when you've gotten to, particularly I'd say Gen 3 is where they fixed a lot of things up, and really Gen 4, 5, and 6, it gets even better from there. But Gen 1 has a lot of issues. The gameplay itself is very slow in comparison to the preceding generations. So it's not a generation without its flaws. There are also a lot of glitches. I mean, if you ever want to see the game get glitched to hell, watch some speed runs of it. It's absolutely nuts how much people glitch the hell out of these games. But yeah, Generation 1 it hit right at the right time. It was, a phenomenon that went off like crazy. It hit, it was the games, the cards, and the TV shows all at once came out to just hit us. In fact, I think I got, here. And see, this is what the Gen 1 gameplay looks like. If you're playing on a Game Boy Color, an entire city would just be a single color. At the time, I mean, going from the green screen of the Game Boy to, oh, look, the different cities are different colors, was actually really cool. That was kind of like a mind-blowing moment as a kid for handheld games. I mean, console games looked much better. You had Super Nintendo at the time. Hell, you had PlayStation 1 hadn't come out yet, I don't think. But, you had other systems that looked amazing in comparison to handhelds. But as far as a handheld goes, this looked pretty damn good. But you look at it now, and it hasn't aged very well. There's also a lot of, if you get into the numbers games of how the Pokemon work, it's a little bit iffy with Gen 1. For instance, your crit chance is connected to your speed. So you have a Pokemon with really high speed and you crit all the time. That's why things like Pikachu and Jolteon, because they had a high speed, were considered really good Pokemon. Whereas, later on, I mean, Raichu is still pretty good, but Jolteon's not even really considered to be the best of like the Eevee evolutions. But overall, I give Pokemon Generation 1 a lot of credit for being the stepping stone from which the rest of these games have been able to create. And, they've a huge bounce that they got from these. So a lot of credit goes there. And you know what? I enjoyed the hell out of the games when they were coming out. I thought they were great. But hindsight, not the best. Also, Mew was like a glitch Pokemon in it. Like, they discussed Mew, but you can't actually get Mew in the original game without glitching the game. Like, it says if you get all 150 Pokemon, that was a rumor when I was a kid, is you get all 150 Pokemon and you go talk to the guy in the, I think it's either in Silph.co or the department store, one or the other, and he'll give you Mew. That wasn't true. That's not what you got. Let's see. Daniel, I know the original 150 Pokemon, that's it, and I think I saw the first movie. The original was Bulbasaur for me. That's one thing I'll also give the Generation 1 a lot of credit for, is they probably had the coolest looking Pokemon. I mean, they were working with a blank slate from there, but the starters all looked totally kick-ass. Even Venusaur, which is typically considered to be the weakest of the three, probably the coolest looking. Even though I love my Blastoise. I love Blastoise. I mean, it's a turtle with cannons on it. Like, that's awesome. It's freaking sweet. Pokemon, the movie 2000. I think I saw that one. Thought it was kind of weird. Yeah, like I said, maybe I was thinking back on it with rose-tinted glasses. Phil, how's it going, Phil? I will be staying awake for tonight's Friday night after party over on Ord's board, his main channel, so make sure you stick around for that. We're gonna play some Mario Kart, kick the crap out of each other, a lot of fun. Let's see, the only Pokemon game I ever played was on Game Boy, and I borrowed it from my friends and leveled up all his Pokemon for a week in the same area, because that's how I RPG. There's, depending on the RPG, you kind of have to, or at least it's a good idea to build up early on in the games. Get a couple of levels right at the beginning, and it makes the rest of the game a lot more manageable. So, nothing wrong with that. Am I sure I can handle the L? Oh, Phil, I think you're projecting there, bud. Look, I got competition out of these games, which is what I like, but it ain't coming from you, Phil. I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that. It's just, I gotta be honest. I promised myself that I would be honest, and sorry, Phil, that's just how it is. I saw you got one win last week. That's because I wasn't there, okay? You're SOL this time. But you know what? I think it's about time we move on to Generation 2. Sorry, I gotta have my nicotine addiction break there. You know what? Generation 2, they still look pretty kick-ass with the Pokemon. You got, Golden Bird, Silver Bird, Fire Flying, Psychic Flying, Ho-Oh, Lugia. I do think it was kind of strange that, like, in the very first episode of Pokemon, they tease Ho-Oh, but then you don't see that Pokemon for, like, a long time. It's weird. It's weird. Phil still talking smack. Oh, whatever, Princess. Yeah, okay, Phil. I'm Metal Mario. I ain't even playing Princess Peach. Although I should, because it would be, thematic with my name for my other channel, Freeze Peach. But I don't, because Metal Mario is awesome. You play stupid meats that look like they got Down syndrome or something. Yeah, that's you, Phil. That's what you play. I think that's kind of cool, actually. Yeah, that they tease the Pokemon like that. Yeah, they tease the Pokemon, and then you didn't see it for like years. Like, I think it was, I recently went through the timeline of Pokemon games with a coworker of mine. So it was 98 for Generation 1 in America, and I think it was like 2000, so it was like 2 years. We didn't really see anything about Ho-Oh. I actually didn't play Generation 2 when it first came out. I played the crap out of Gen 1, And by the time Generation 2 came around, even though it was still Game Boy Color, I think it was just Game Boy or Game Boy Color, or it had features for Game Boy game that had features for Game Boy Color. I just didn't play it. I didn't pick it up. I don't know why. I guess I set it down. Let's see, 2000. I'd have been moving around during that time. That would have been where I moved from the town where I grew up to the town where I sort of spent my teen years. That might have been part of the issue there. I was making new friends, going to a new school. So, yeah, I didn't play Generation 2 until years later. Oh, excuse me. Oh, man. I just, old man burped right in the microphone there. That's uncool. But I didn't play Generation 2 for years. I think it was 05, 06 when I played an emulator of it. And I'll say from what I remember, because I'm having to remember back 17 years at this point in time. From what I remember, Generation 2 had some improvements from Generation 1, but it was kind of just Gen 1 Part 2. It didn't feel like its own generation, like they had made that many improvements to the system or anything. In fact, I believe they used the same engine from Generation 1 to make Generation 2. It's part of the reason why they just put pretty much the whole first game as the post game for Generation 2, because you finish up going around the new Pokemon League circuit, and then you can go and do the Indigo League. Where Generation 2 really shines is in the DS remakes of them, which I have a physical copy of here. Put myself on full screen so we can see it. Yeah, there we go. Woo, it's coming in fuzzy. Yeah, you can't see it very well, but Soul Silver, which is actually one of my favorites. And I think between Gen 1 and Gen 2, between Gen 2 and Gen 4, a lot had improved. Was that Gen 5? I can't remember where Soul Silver and Heart Gold come out. But yeah, the DS remakes of them were solid. I mean, some of the best Pokemon has ever been. DS remake of Gen 2. I just can't say I remember that well, but I do want to say that the Pokemon designs did actually improve a little bit. You get some really cool ones out of Gen 2, and eventually you can kind of tell over the years that they sort of started running out of ideas. All right, I'm going to go ahead and preemptively talk a little bit of crap about Gen 9. The new Pokemon designs, kind of dumb. I like the Grass Cat, it's cute. That's what I picked, even though grass is generally considered to be the worst type, particularly for starters. I just don't like how the new Pokemon designs look. One of them's a duck with a pompadour that becomes a weird salsa dancing goose thing. I don't like it. I don't like it at all. Whereas in this, you still had some really cool ones. Sceptrid is one that always comes to mind for me. It's just a raccoon, almost like a red panda, really. A little raccoon that hops around on its tail, got a little target on its chest. It's adorable. But so Gen 2, pretty good. Not the best overall, though. I think a lot of things improved over time. Let's see. Oh, yes, I am a Redskins fan. I grew up outside of the DC area. I was born right outside of DC, and I sort of grew up in that area, so I am by birthright a Redskins fan. In fact, I would pass FedEx Field on the way between my mom's house and my dad's house. Typically, I'd see it from the train. So that's how I'd get from one to the other. So yes, I am by birthright a Redskins fan. I'm sure you might refer to it as a Deadskins fan. I hate the new name, the Washington football team. Who likes that? Stick with Redskins. Yes, you're probably a Cowgirls fan, if I had to guess. Oh yeah, we're arch enemies. Yeah, Cowgirls fan. That's all right. We we won't hold that against you here. Second favorite team is Cowboys, though, right? Yeah. No, definitely not. Honestly, I haven't even paid attention to football in a long time. I'd probably just have to go with Ravens because it's the other Maryland team. Maybe even the Patriots. I got a lot of family from New England, so I would always sort of cheer for the Patriots as like a secondary cheer, but it's never big into football. Had a couple of years I paid attention to it. I enjoy football, but I don't go out of my way to watch it too much. Leave my Ducks alone. I'm sorry, Duck Dangerously. It's not all ducks. It's normally ducks are awesome. In fact, especially little baby ducks. Baby ducks are adorable. Little pink fuzzies. They're awesome. That duck from Generation 9, what's it, Quaxley? It's a duck with a pompadour. It's retarded. I hate it. Hope they beat the Giants. Yeah, everybody hates the New Jersey Giants, and they really hate it when you call them the New Jersey Giants. And make the playoffs. If you're talking about the Redskins, yeah, they'll make the playoffs. Once in a while, they're like a wild card pick. I don't know if they've gotten any better. I kind of doubt it, though. I really doubt that the Redskins have gotten any better. I understand that my team sucks. I get it. We haven't been good since like 95. Pretty much it was the last time the Redskins and the Cowboys, when you had, Cowboys and Indians in the Super Bowl at the same time. That was the last time we were good. It's been shit since then. Derailed me off Pokemon. That's easy to do. That's easy to do. The East is the best this year, man. The East is always the best. Obviously had to pick Quaxley. Didn't like it, but it would be off-brand not to. I had to pick the little grass cat thing. I don't have any images of it here. I can't even remember what its name was, but I picked the little grass cat thing. And it winds up, none of them look cool when they get later into the generations, except for the fire alligator thing. I can't even remember what it's called. That one looks kind of cool when it gets into the third evolution, but the rest of them, they look kind of crap. Although for their first evolution, the grass cat looks the cutest. I had to pick it. Okay, I'm learning original Pokemon show and game started in Kanto region. Yes. This is available in the new game, though. No. I was saying that the second game that came out, Gold and Silver, the Kanto region is available in that. The second one was Johto, I believe. It's hard to keep up with all of them. I want to say that the second generation was the Johto region, and after you go through the Johto region, you can literally take like a train over to the Kanto region. They are not available in the new game, though. Who knows? Maybe a DLC, but I kind of doubt it. But I think it is time we move on to... Whoop, wrong button. No, I boomered it. All right, let me share my screen again. Crap, where did it go? Having to find the right one. There we go. Generation 3, which overall I'd say, like just looking at the Pokemon design there, I think this is where it starts to crest a little bit. They've kind of plateaued. Like the Pokemon design itself for Generation 3 is still good, but still, it's just not as solid as something as simple as even you look at Pikachu here on screen, which I understand Pikachu has become the mascot for Pokemon, but it's just an electricity mouse. And I don't know, it just looks a little bit cooler. Even though some of these Pokemon are really good, particularly Mudkip going into its final evolution of, what's that, not Quagsire? I can't remember off the top of my head. I just flew right out of my head. But they're pretty strong Pokemon when you get to the end. Their final evolution. I'll say the games were fun. The gameplay itself improved a lot. For instance, let me pull this up. It's kind of a crap looking image, but we'll pull it up anyway, just so you can see. So this is sort of what the gameplay had looked like by the time we got around to there. It's a fairly fuzzy image here, but you can just see there's a lot more definition in the games. They just look a lot better overall. And I'll say there were a lot that these games were probably more fun. The story in the game was a lot more engaging. Like now you're having to basically save the universe. It's no longer just taking on essentially Pokemon communists that want to steal all the Pokemon, which was the Generation 1 story of taking on Team Rocket. Now you're trying to actually save the universe, which was really cool. Let's see, learning about Pokemon Show. Oh yeah, we covered that one. There's a thing, Gigantamax. That was really a thing. Well, yeah, we're gonna get into that. It's a thing, Daniel. It's a thing. I wonder how long Boomer will last until people use another old person term. You know what? We refer to people who aren't even boomers as boomers, right? Like people think that my mom's generation are boomers, and no, they're Gen X. Like she was born in '67. Like that's Generation X, but people have no idea what boomer even means. I even read something not too long ago that was saying like boomer was anyone born between like 1945 and 1965, and it's like, what are you even talking about? We had a specific period of time called the baby boom, and it was right after all of the men returned from the European and Pacific theaters in World War II. They all returned home, and they immediately started fucking and made a bunch of babies. That's the baby boom. We had a period of time, it was about 5 years, a little bit longer, depending, but really at most you could say 1945 to 1955 would be the baby boom. Anyone born between then, other than that, ain't real frickin' boomers. That's about the most you can go. And they get rid of Misty then. They did get rid of Misty for Generation 3. I don't know why. Maybe she's still in the show, and I just I'm not sure, because like I said, I didn't watch the show. I haven't caught back up on it. Maybe I should. Who knows? I know Caleb Hart has been watching it while he's been doing shiny hunting, particularly when he went through like 180 hours of trying to shiny hunt a Rayquaza in Brilliant Diamond, which was nuts. Which he did finally get. It took him like over 10,000 attempts to get a shiny Rayquaza, which is nuts, but he did it. But yeah, they got rid of Misty, replaced it with oh crap, I can't even remember her name. Yeah, I don't remember. Also, yeah, she is Gen 3. Yeah, I don't know why they would have done that, but overall, Gen 3 looked good. Right, it was a fun game. Let's see if I can pull up some images that show the actual gameplay, so you can see kind of how the improvements have come around a bit. Ooh, that is a fuzzy image. Let me find one that doesn't look so bad. Okay, here's kind of a comparison back and forth of the different generations. There you go. Kind of a compare and contrast. So yeah, this is, you got the original right here in the middle. I just actually like pointed at my screen, like you guys can see what I'm talking about. God, I'm boomer and stuff. And then you scroll up here, look toward the top. That's where they did the remakes for Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, which were actually excellent remakes. Very good, solid remakes of the game. I enjoyed the hell out of Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. And that's really where more of my understanding for Gen 3 comes from, which is kind of bad because they're actually Gen 6 games. And a lot changed between the multiple generations that had passed. And this is another one that I played on emulator. I never had actual physical copies of these games, so I can't say too much about them. Let's see. Before we move on, there is Dynamax, Gigantamax, and Mega Evolutions. Don't forget about Z moves. The Z moves as well, Duck Dangerously. Yeah, they started adding a lot of stuff, like Mega Evolution was kind of cool when it first came out. And then they did the Dynamax, and then they did the Gigantamax. And I kind of liked Z moves because it's like a once a battle, one Pokemon can use it, and it's an overpower that always hits. Like, that was cool. But putting all of them together got a little bit, I don't know, it just got a little bit schizophrenic at times, how much you had going on. Give me just a moment, I need some more coffee. So there was really a Mega Charizard. Yes, there was. And you know what, Mega Charizard, I'll say it was Mega Charizard X is the one that everyone constantly brings up. Yeah, it actually looks pretty cool. It does, in fact, look pretty cool. Let's see. There we go. Yes, Mega Charizard X. Now, the Mega Evolution's kind of cool, kind of neat, but also unnecessary. I know a lot of people who played competitive would play in tournaments where like you couldn't Mega evolve your Pokemon. Yeah, see, Mega Charizard X. And Y is interesting. Let's see what Y looked like. I can't even remember what, because nobody cared about Mega Charizard Y. Oh yeah, that's right. There's a reason why nobody cared about Mega Charizard Y. All right, here we go. And yeah, there's a reason why no one cares about it. He's got extra little wings. He's got like fins on his arms right there. That's stupid. See, that's kick-ass. It still just looks like Charizard, except he's got a couple of spikes. His wings got, you know, little spiky bits on him there, and then he's blue. He's got blue fire. He actually changed his color. Yeah, that's way freaking cooler. And we have a Zombie Box review. Thank you for joining us, Zombie Box. And Heron. Hi, Heron. Thank you for joining us. We's talking about Pokemon. We are currently talking about Generation 3, but I think we're about to move on. Yes, Blue Fire is badass. I think we're about to move on to a generation I know a little bit more about with Generation 4. Pearl, Diamond, and Platinum. Now, I think I had Diamond. So I had a Coral Pink DS Lite that I had gotten for my birthday one year. I was kind of out of the handheld game for a while. I didn't have a DS at all. I had a Game Boy Advanced, even though I never had the Game Boy Advance Pokemon games. I did have a Game Boy Advance, played the hell out of my Game Boy Advance, especially when I got the SP. Oh man, I played the hell out of that system. A lot of Castlevania games for that generation that were pretty solid. Pretty solid Castlevania games coming out for the Game Boy Advance. But I never played the Pokemons for those. But then when the DS Lite came out, I got, I think I had Diamond at the time. No, because Platinum had already come out. So I had Platinum. So I kind of skipped the initial part of Generation 4 with Diamond and Pearl, and I skipped right on over to Platinum. And I gotta say, Platinum was an amazing game. I absolutely loved it. I don't remember the story too well, because once again, I'm having to go back a long time, and I haven't replayed Platinum. I would like to, but a legit version of Platinum runs like $80 to $100 for it. Now, you can get a clone of it for like $20, but the clones are fine if you're going to casually play, but I don't typically casually play Pokemon games. Like, I dig through them. I try to, you know, I like filling out the Pokedex, and I like shiny hunting, and I like really getting into it. I tend to put a couple hundred hours into these games, and unfortunately the clones crap out right around the 80 to 100 hour mark. So if you're going to casually play, it's fine, but I really want to get a legit version of Platinum again and properly play through it and, you know, really dig into the game, because it actually has a buttload of post-game content after you've actually played through the main story and gone through the Pokemon League and all that stuff. There is a metric shiteload of post-game content in Platinum. And the games just looked really cool. Like I liked how they were still doing pixel art back then. I think that Generation 4 and 5 really kind of peaked with the pixel art with those, particularly Gen 5, I'd say. I don't know, Gen 4. I'm gonna look up some Soul Silver gameplay images so you guys can see what I'm talking about with the actual pixel art. See, a lot of these are back from when people would just put a camera up to their actual DS to show you what the game looked like. So let's see. I'm trying to find an image that looks pretty good. One other great thing about these games is you can get your Pokemon to actually follow behind you, particularly in Soul Silver. Or Soul Silver and Heart Gold, which was also, I believe, considered Generation 4. Might have been Gen 5, I'm not sure. But it really peaked with how the games themselves looked. I'm trying to find one that could show some of the actual Pokemon in action. Oh god, that's so fuzzy. See, it's hard to have a strong comparison when there we go. Here's a good one. All right, there we go. See some solid images for the pixel art there. I just liked how the pixel art looks over the 3D look, in my personal opinion, possibly because that's what I grew up with. Also, there's a Dragonite. I think it was your Bonnie was saying Dragonite was your favorite. Another one that I loved. In fact, I have a pretty high level one in my Pokemon Soul Silver right now. So yeah, Generation 4 overall, I mean, solid games, lots of fun. Is Mewtwo appear in the game ever? Depends on which generation you're talking about. It appeared in Generation 1 for sure, you get Mewtwo. And in Generation 4 with Soul Silver and Heart Gold, I believe you can get a Mewtwo. Also in Generation 6, you get Mewtwo. It's one of the many legendaries you can get in Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire. And I want to say that was the last time you could get Mewtwo outside of and then Let's Go, which would be Generation 8. So that's Mewtwo's appeared a lot, in fact. Unfortunately, I just don't remember a whole lot about this generation outside of Soul Silver and Heart Gold, which excellent games. Soul Silver still stands out as my favorite overall. It's also one of the most challenging. Just trying to get to Red and take on Red, who is the original protagonist from the first game. That's who you're playing as. You basically go back and fight yourself on top of a mountain that's hailing, and he's just hanging out there. And you got to take him on, and he's got a completely overpowered team that if you aren't even more overpowered, if you don't have your Pokemon at or near max level, you are going to get trounced. And you almost even have to build a team to specifically take him down. It's ridiculous how strong he is. And it just made the game amazing. So I really want a Platinum now that I'm thinking about it. I'm going to have to save up and get myself a Platinum. Heron is actually getting a Switch so you can play Violet. Oh, wow. I know a lot of people are enjoying it. It depends on how much you know about Pokemon, I guess. I haven't gotten there yet to my particular review of Generation 9, but I'll say as kind of an old school guy for the generations, not my favorite is what I'll say for the latest Violet and Scarlet. But a lot of other people are enjoying it. I think it's better for people who aren't super familiar with Pokemon. And I think that's my problem with it, is they kind of took a step back. Actually, they've kind of been for a while taking a step back in difficulty, but we haven't quite gotten there yet in my reviews going through the generations, because next up we have Generation 5. Yes. What's this? There we go. Yes, Generation 5, Black, White, and Black and White 2. So, yeah, I played Black 2 out of this generation. There was another gap where I didn't play Pokemon for a while because my Coral Pink DS Lite that I really loved got stolen from me, along with all of my games. That kind of soured me to handheld consoles for a while, so it wasn't until the 3DS came out, and I don't even have the 3DS XL yet. I still have just regular old 3DS. It wasn't until this system came out that I got back into handheld games in general, and I pretty much hopped right back into Pokemon when that happened. So generation right around when Gen 6 came out, XY, that's when I got back into Pokemon, and I fairly consistently played since then. So I had to kind of catch up with Gen 5. And I kind of breezed through the game really quickly, so I don't remember it super well. But I remember the art being solid in the games. I remember enjoying the heck out of it. I actually played it quite a bit. I don't know. I guess it's because I blew through, I probably put 130 hours on Black 2 in a month, because I had a lot of downtime at work then as well. And I was just kind of trying, I think it was just waiting for X and Y to come out. I think that's part of it. In fact, I have my case here for Black 2. I also have a case for Black 1, even though I don't own it. I don't know why. But yep, have my case for Black 2. This game was actually a lot of fun. I just wish I could remember more about it and give a more concise review of the game itself. I remember hacking the crap out of it. That's one thing, is it was super easy to hack Pokemon in Generation 5, which I don't hack anymore. But it was super easy to just make a shiny whatever you want. You can make a shiny Charmander and literally on your phone, make it and send it straight to your box as a mystery gift that you could pull up just right over Wi-Fi. It was super easy to do. I was doing it a buttload in that generation. And some of my hacked Pokemon were even able to go up through the generations, which is unfortunate because I guess that messes you up if you want to do competitive, but I wasn't super big into competitive. I just like collecting them, which is why I stopped hacking, because it seems like kind of a cheat. So that's kind of where I think most of my time into Generation 5 went, was just hacking Pokemon on my phone. Also, here's what the game itself looked like. Pretty solid. You had a mix of 3D with pixel art in there, and it isn't jarring. I'd say it looks pretty good. A lot of the sprites for objects, like the bikes and the player and the statue, are all pixel art, whereas you have sort of a low poly 3D for the home and the bushes and stairs and the like. And I'll say it actually worked out pretty well for the visuals in that generation. And the battles just look good. I mean, I pulled up an image for that not too long ago. Let's see. Before I move on, let's hop through the chat a little bit. Your Bommy asking, Heron, gonna stream the game? Violet, guess I can, or at least make videos of it. In the first film, Mewtwo was a genetically created Pokemon. I didn't remember that part. Yes, they took the DNA of Mew, which they found in a fossil, which was totally not something they stole from Michael Crichton, and then, yes, created Mew from it. It's crazy, Steve, all these generations. Yeah, we're up to 9 now, along with several offshoot games for the generations. Heart Gold and Soul Silver, which are, that's technically an offshoot for Gen 4, I believe. Then you have Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, which is an offshoot for Gen 6. And then For Gen 7, there wasn't an offshoot. Gen 8, however, you had more than one offshoot because you have Legends Arceus or Arceus. I don't know how you're supposed to pronounce it. And then you also have Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl. And now we're up to Gen 9. Yeah, it's been a lot. But the games have also been coming out for, I mean, in Japan, like 28 years from when they first released in Japan. So it's not a short-lived series, short-lived franchise. See, in the third film, there was a Pokemon type called Pokemon Entei. How about that? Yes, Entei, which is a fire dog, one of the three legendary dog Pokemon. You have Entei, Suicune, and the third one is flying right out of my head, Raikou, yes. Yeah, those actually look pretty cool. The legendary dogs, I did kind of dig those. And those actually came out in Generation 2, but they're featured in the third film. Generations 4 design is weirder than I thought it would be. Yes, they get weird after a while. Like I said, they kind of plateaued in the third generation, and then they start to get kind of weird until we are where we are today. I remember Mewtwo being made from Mew's DNA. Yes, Mewtwo is created. Yeah, it's totally, they did not steal it from Jurassic Park at all. Both Mew and Mewtwo were able to talk, right? Mewtwo could talk telepathically. Mewtwo was able to talk. Mew just sort of made Mew noises. Whether or not it could talk telepathically, it's not really breached in the movie, at least. It just sort of makes a generic Mew sound. But Mewtwo it was telepathically speaking into their minds. The way we get horror Santa movies now, we should get like a similar Pokemon. Yeah. Yeah, Pokemon, I don't like the new designs for most of them. I just don't. I hate to say it. And even in like the generations, I'd say 3 through 6, there's some weird ones in there, but there's also some pretty damn cool ones in there as well. Like Giratina for Generation 4, it's pretty cool. It's the Ghost Dragon. It's like this weird mix between, I don't know, it's got like this centipede look to it almost, but it has these big wings. And yeah, some of them still looked pretty cool. These modern ones, I'm not so sure about. In fact, I don't think any of the modern ones have really like struck me as like, oh wow, that looks so cool so far, at least. I mean, Pokemon turn on humans. Oh yeah. Depends on what you mean turn on. I'm pretty sure that's been a thing for a while. Do not Google Pokemon Rule 34. You will be disgusted. And I don't think it's a new thing. But you know what? I think it's time we move on to... Yep, here's where we are. Generation 6, which is where we got into. I have one of them right here. Pokemon X. Full screen on this. Pokemon X, and then followed up shortly with Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire. Great games, in fact. Probably my favorite of the generations would be Gen 6. Within the 4 games of XY and Omega Ruby Alpha Sapphire, they made it to where you could get all of the Pokemon. There were like 721 was the full Pokedex at the time. And just in those 4 games, I mean, it took a lot of grinding and a lot of work, but you could complete the Pokedex in those games because there was so much after-game, post-game content. There was a lot going on. They added some really inventive ways to shiny hunt that were good for both more casual players. You could do once you fill out the Pokedex, especially, and you get the shiny charm, which would only lower the shiny chances to what they are regularly now. They would go from 8,000 to 4,000 roughly. That's 1 out of 8,000 Pokemon would be the shiny. to 1 out of 4,000. After you get that, you can do horde hunting, where you essentially summon, like, I think five Pokemon at a time to increase your odds there. Or you could there's other styles of chain fishing, which was pretty cool. Took a little bit of skill at least. Then in Omega Ruby, you had the Dex Nav, where you had to like sneak up on Pokemon. That also took a little bit of skill. But okay, and I'll agree with Daniel on this one. The design has lost you there. Yeah, but yeah, I get it. You got like Fennekin, the Firefox, you got Water Frog, you got weird grass vole thing. You get an angry panda who's chewing on a leaf, Ghost Sword. Yeah, that's the design goes a little bit off the rails in Gen 6. Not as egregious as it is these days. But the games themselves in Generation 6, a lot of fun. Tons of fun. A lot you could do in those games. That's also where this is where they introduced the Mega Evolutions in the game, so you get additional sort of tactics you can throw in there. It was before this that they added the Fairy type. I don't remember if it was Gen 6 or Gen 5. I want to say this is where they added a new type. You had the Fairy and Steel types. She had some pretty cool Pokemon out of those. But the games themselves, just tons of fun. Endless replay value. I've probably put over 1,000 hours between the two Generation 6 games that I own. I'd probably have close to 1,000 hours between all of them. I actually own 2 copies of Omega Ruby. Not even a joke. One of them's in my DS right now. I bought a second DS from a buddy of mine, and he just gave me his games, and it included Omega Ruby, which I already owned. But yeah, the design, I'll agree with you on that, Daniel. Some of them get a little bit weird, but the gameplay itself, just a lot of fun. This image is also not going to do it a lot of justice, but give you an idea of what the game looked like. It went into full 3D. Now, part of the reason why this image doesn't do it a lot of justice is because you're getting the full, close-up of it, whereas you would be seeing it on tiny little DS screen. So it actually looked pretty good, and this is when they first went from the 2D pixel models, particularly when you're in battles, to 3D models throughout the entire game, and it actually looked pretty darn good. Let's see if I can't find an Omega Ruby battle. Let's see. Yeah, that'll work. Just to give you guys an idea of, see, that's what the battles looked like. 3D models, they actually still looked pretty good. And Daryl Talks Games actually put out a video recently talking about how the camera work in these games actually functions when you do attacks, and how the camera is actually proactively following the attack and helps to aid the motion of everything going on, compared to the newer games where it's just sort of like they do move and you see move happens and the camera's very static the whole time. This game actually felt like there was an action happening when you used to move, unless you turn that feature off to save time, which sometimes happens. But Generation 6, I absolutely love. I still play my Pokemon Y and Omega Ruby. Like, that's my go-to when I'm shiny hunting, because it still takes a little bit of skill with those, and it feels like more of an accomplishment compared to some of the newer generations where they just kind of pop up because you see all of the Pokemon in the world all the time. Oh, sorry. I heard one of the cats going off. The wife came home. I was concerned for a second. I was thinking I was going to have to shoot a motherfucker. We're good. We're safe. No problems. Sorry about that. Where was I? Oh, yeah. There's actually a bit of skill involved in like doing the shiny hunting in Gen 6, which makes it a lot more fun. Makes it a lot more of a challenge. So these are still regular go-tos for me. honestly prefer them to any generation afterwards, which is where we start getting into.
Oh shit, kids, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit, oh.
You guys probably heard that, I'm assuming. That is the code word for the cats getting ready to eat. We just say, oh shit, to them repeatedly, and they respond in kind. This is where we get into Generation 7. But before we do that, I'm gonna, let's see. Never experienced that. Was FF took over my world younger. Oh, Final Fantasy, yes. I did play a good amount of Final Fantasy when I was younger. Would have liked seeing this. Yeah, it looks good considering. Yeah, see, considering it was a 3DS, they had just gone to 3D. I actually still kind of prefer how that looks compared to some of the newer ones. Just went through the original ones. I remember now, Mr. Mime gave me the creeps. Look up the original the original look for Jinx. You'll see why they changed that. JYX Jinx. Oh, yep, you already beat me to it. Jinx was a bizarre one too. Hey, I will play SNES emulator games still. Yeah. Oh, dude, I love pixel art. I really prefer pixel art, not just for the Pokemon games, but for a lot of games, in fact. It just, some of them look great. In fact, there are games still coming out with pixel art that are just solid, great games. Not quite as common these days to get like a higher level look from a game that's using pixel art, but there have been some solid ones. Axiom Verge is one that comes to mind. That probably came out like 8 years ago or so, but solid game, great pixel art to it. What was it? Not Bloodborne. The Castlevania clone that came out not too long ago. I cannot remember the name of it off the top of my head, but it was a great friggin' game that had solid pixel art to it. It was good. Shovel Knight. Shovel Knight's pixel art, 10 out of 10. Amazing look for a game. I hope they keep that up. There's still some coming out, but they're more lower end of the indie crowd these days. A lot of people have moved on to low poly type deals, kind of like Valheim is sort of a low poly game, which still looks pretty good, but I'd love some solid pixel art back. Octopath Traveler. I have seen some Octopath Traveler. It's kind of weird. I love Pokemon, but outside of Pokemon, I'm not a big JRPG guy. I don't know what it is. I've tried over and over again to get into them. I put a lot of hours into different JRPGs, but there's something about them that I'll hit like the 20 to 30 hour point and just sort of fall off. Don't know why. Yes, Jinx is called. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that on YouTube because sometimes they translate things and it'll get you in trouble one way or another. Also, thank you, Phil, for putting up my links. There's that's for my Twitter, and then there's Megan as well. By the way, Megan could not make it today. She was feeling a bit under the weather, so I gave her the day off. So, yep. But she'll be back next week. We'll be talking about a movie, which I will announce at the end. So stick around. We only have a few more generations to get to, and then we'll wrap all this up. But yes, and the soundtrack alone on YouTube. If you don't play, look it up. I know a lot of people have used that soundtrack. But all right, let me get a quick Nick fix and some coffee. I'm going to do both at once. Oh, that is my fuel right there. Caffeine and nicotine. I don't really drink anymore, so these are my vices. Caffeine, nicotine. That's how I get by. But we are now into Generation 7, which I do actually have a physical copy of here with... I got Ultra Moon because I kind of skipped a little bit here. I didn't pick up Generation 7 when it first came out. I picked it up a bit later. And So I just got Ultra Moon instead of regular Moon, and I gotta say, this is where the series kind of starts to take a downturn for me, in my opinion. There's just something about Ultra Moon that I didn't particularly like. You're sort of hopping islands now rather than just playing, from one place to, following along a very linear path, usually kind of a circular path going around a single region. That wasn't a big deal. I think it was mostly the Pokemon designs themselves that kind of threw me off a good bit. You know what it really was with Generation 7? I know it. This is what bothered me with it. They went too heavy on the story. The stories used to be it was just something you sort of got through that would be quick, like you have to save the universe kind of thing that you'd get through in like 20 to 30 hours maybe. The story was so freaking slow and dragged on for so freaking long in Sun and Moon. They just put way too much on there. I don't know what it was. I didn't like it. I think they should have kept it minimal. Keep those stories to a minimum, make it an interesting thing of like you have to go capture some legendary Pokemon that some team is trying to use to destroy the world. That's all you need. You go, you take on the team, you defeat their leader, you catch the super uber powerful legendary Pokemon, you save the universe, end of story. You go through Victory Road, you beat the Elite Four, you kick the crap out of the champion, then you have some post-game content where you go around and catch some legendaries. That's all you need. This was like a 40 to 50 hour freaking story. And it was so slow. There was so much dialogue. I just want to go and catch some more damn Pokemon. I just want to go out and explore cool looking regions that have interesting Pokemon that I haven't seen before that I can catch. And they're constantly slamming me with all of this freaking dialogue. And you get a lot of mid-combat dialogue. That's where this started too. A lot of, in the middle of combat, you take a break from the combat itself for your opponent to have word bubbles pop up, which is very much a JRPG thing, but wasn't really a thing to commonly happen in Pokemon games until Generation 7. I did not like Sun and Moon. In fact, I picked them up, I played them. There's some cool Pokemon you can get in there, like there's a lot of legendaries available in the post-game content, but I didn't like it. I have heard from other people that these were pretty darn good games for competitive, but I don't care about competitive. It just wasn't my thing. Also, I didn't have a 3DS XL. I just have a regular 3DS, like I mentioned before, and it runs really slow when you get into the multiple Pokemon battles. Like if you have two Pokemon on your side and two Pokemon on the other side, the game grinds to a halt. It becomes so freaking slow. I just didn't like Gen 7, and it really was the start of a downhill slope to where we've gotten now. Let's see, before I move on, Daniel, actually, I know more than 150 Pokemon. I remember Poor Man's Bulbasaur, Charmander, Squirtle, Chikorita, Cyndaquil, and Totodile. Yes. Totodile was always really cool. I typically go with the water starter. That's kind of my typical go-to, but not this generation. I went with the grass because I just really didn't like how Quaxley looked, personally. This brings us on to Generation 8, which I think I grabbed my... Nope, that's the wrong one. That's also the wrong one. Where is it? Here we go. This brings us to... show you my physical copy of it. Pokemon Sword. Similar complaints about Pokemon Sword with Ultra Moon, or Sun and Moon. Similar complaints, in fact, of the story really takes over. There's so much dialogue when they actually give you a really large and interesting world for you to explore. But every time you get to a new area, there's like 5 minutes worth of dialogue that I'm just skipping through. A lot of unskippable cutscenes, and I think the most egregious thing they did in Pokemon Sword, something that really, you know what really grinds my gears? When you're playing a game and you're not even the damn protagonist of the game. That's how it felt to me. I wasn't the protagonist of Pokemon Sword. The champion, Leon, who is your rival's older brother, he's the protagonist of the game. When crap's going down and the world's about to be destroyed by all of these Pokemon who are Gigantamaxing, which is where that happened in this one, Daniel, they now go super huge and they take up these massive spaces and everything turns red and a big storm cloud appears above them and they look all angry and you have to take them on, and which was all kind of gay. Sorry for just it was. I didn't like it. I just didn't like Gigantamaxing. But, like, there's a point in the game where Pokemon all over the place are going Gigantamax, and it's out of control, and nobody can stop them. And I'm thinking, like, oh, cool, this might actually be interesting. I'm going to have to go through, like, a gauntlet of maybe, like, 3 to 5 Gigantamax Pokemon and, like, increasing levels of difficulty. That's what I'm thinking, because they're telling me, because I get like a news notification on your damn phone, because now it's just a phone. Your Pokedex is just a phone, by the way. I get a news notification that they're going Gigantamax and they're destroying cities, and I was like, okay, cool, that's awesome. And no, the current champion, who, like I said, is this guy Leon, who looks like a total schmo. He's the one who actually goes out and freaking defeats all of the wildly Gigantamaxing Pokemon. You aren't even the hero of your own damn story. And it pissed me off. I did not like Pokemon Sword for that reason. That actually really, it made me feel like, why am I playing the game if I'm not the hero? Like, if I'm playing a game, I want to be the damn hero. I want to be the one saving the universe, right? Not me hearing news clips about somebody else saving the universe. That's not interesting to me. And I can't be the only one who felt like that. I'll say the game looked pretty cool. I really hated the starters and how they looked. I didn't like them. I took what I thought was the least annoying of the three, which was this fire rabbit guy here, who I can't even remember his name. I think it was just like Rabbit or something. It was, I don't know. Gigantamax, some of the designs look cool, not gonna lie. Yeah, some of them look pretty interesting with the Gigantamax. Like, you have this dinosaur thing looking here. When he Gigantamaxes, he looks like a giant steel. He looks like a skyscraper. That's what he looks like. Some of them were actually pretty interesting for doing the Gigantamaxing. It's just, overall, I didn't like it. Yeah, I like it better when Pokedex is just a Pokedex, not a smartphone with a Pokedex case. Yeah, that's all it is. It's just a smartphone. And part of what Pokedexes were, and you can actually go back through the generations and look at the different ones, they're all versions of the handheld console that you're playing on. Like, the original Pokedex looks like a Game Boy. The Generation 2 Pokedex looks still like a Game Boy because it was still on Game Boy. Then Generation 3, it turns sideways. It looks like a Game Boy Advance. Generation 4, it flips open because it was DS. Generation 5 pretty much looks 5 and 6 pretty much look the same. You know, they flip open because it was the 3DS. Then it's when you get to Generation 7 that it's just a smartphone now, which is like, keep it looking like the consoles. Come on, guys. You got it so far, you know, doing the same thing. Now it's just a phone. I didn't like that. That started with the generation before. One we're talking about right now was Sword and Shield. I will say what you get after Sword and Shield, I'll full screen this so you guys can see, is Brilliant Diamond and Shining Pearl, which bit of good, bit of bad with this offshoot in Generation 8. The game itself doesn't look great, but it is a fairly faithful remake to Diamond and Pearl. Nope, I'm dropping stuff here. Fairly faithful remakes of the games. I actually kind of like that they went back to just a top-down rather than a 3D look. I prefer the top-down, the isometric look. It's how I feel. Hey, Soul Assassin, how's it going? You had a Pokedex when you were a kid? Yeah, I remember those things. They had like keychain Pokedexes and stuff, and then they actually had like the full size. I just had the book that told me all about the different Pokemon. I didn't have an actual Pokedex. That's freaking cool. But yeah, you had Brilliant Diamond, which I actually enjoyed. This offshoot kind of game that a lot of people hated. Brilliant Diamond, and I'll say the actual art for the game, which I believe they actually outsourced the people who made this game. This was not actually done by Game Freak. This was actually outsourced to a different company, and I'll say that the actual art for the game, not great. But the gameplay I thought was more engaging than Pokemon Sword. So, I had played Pokemon Sword and then Brilliant Diamond, and I'll say it was nice to actually be the hero in the story that I'm playing. That was what I liked about Brilliant Diamond, is at least I'm the one saving the universe again and not getting freaking phone notifications about how other people are doing the stuff that I should be doing. I didn't get it. I thought it was a horrible decision. Also, trimmed down story. It's because this is just a remake of Generation 4. It's the trimmed down, streamlined story. I don't need a buttload of dialogue. I don't need to know the likes, wants, and future aspirations of my friendly rival. I don't need all that crap. He's my rival. Like, Generation 1 is the only generation I think that properly got the rival, because Blue, the rival in Gen 1, is just an a-hole. He's like the neighborhood bully, and it's you take him on and become the champion at the end of the game, which was cool. Like, he's a dick, and you beat him up. Like, what's wrong with that? They kind of turned it after, I want to say it was Generation 3 or 4, where you started getting the friendly rival, which was someone like, hey, will you be my rival? And we'll help make each other stronger as we go forward. And, I mean, yeah, some of them are decent, but overall, I think they should have kept the rivals as being dicks. But that was what I really liked about Brilliant Diamond, was we just got back to a nice streamlined story. Just make it something simple. Don't give me a buttload of dialogue. There is so much dialogue in these new games. There's so much of it. And I'm constantly skipping it because I don't care. I just want to catch Pokemon. Like, the story in a Pokemon game is a formality to get you to the actual game, which is trying to collect all of the Pokemon. And if you're into the competitive scene, trying to build a team, or if you're into shiny hunting, trying to find out the best ways for you to catch shiny Pokemon and areas you need to go to, and the best, method you could use to catch whichever one it is you're trying to find. Like, that's what Pokemon games for the hardcore fans is really about. The real game starts after you beat the story, after you become the champion. That's when the game really kicks off. And I think they missed that after Generation 7 and on. They think that they need to give you some really engaging story with, multifaceted characters and this, that, and the other, and that you're, the only character still in most of these games that doesn't really have much going on is the main character now, which is kind of sad. The main character is supposed to be a bit of a blank slate, because you're supposed to project yourself onto the main character. That's the point of these games, is you're immersing yourself to try and enjoy, the thought of going into these worlds and trying to collect all of the Pokemon. But that's not, I don't need every other character to now be some multifaceted, super fleshed out guy that has opinions on every single thing that happens, and every time their nose itches, they have to give me 5 minutes of freaking dialogue about it. Sorry, I'm ranting too long about this stuff, but it's been a persistent problem, and I think that it has severely hurt the most recent Pokemon games, in my opinion. Now, I still haven't played Legends Arceus, or Arceus. I don't know how it's pronounced. So maybe it's different with that. I am still planning on picking it up. Haven't done that one, so we'll see. Maybe it's different. All right, time for some more, bit more addiction here. Caffeine. nicotine. Thank you. My knowledge on this is impressive. Well, thank you, Ibami. Yeah, I played a lot of Pokemon. Like, I own lots of Pokemon games. I got a lot of them. I put several thousand hours into all of these games over the years. I enjoy the heck out of them, and that's why I just gave this impassioned speech about the things I don't like about them, because it's kind of upsetting that they've really gone downhill over the past few years. I'm not happy about it, and I've been hoping that they could turn it around. And I hate to say it, as we move on to the final generation, as we move on to Generation 9, I'm currently playing Scarlet. That's the one I'm currently playing, but I do also own Violet. I don't know if I'm even gonna play Violet. I don't know if I'm gonna play through the second version. I bought both. I'm not sure. There you go. There's a nice image of the two of them. Can I even that out a bit so you guys can see a bit of both? Yeah, that's slightly better. Yeah, Scarlet kind of continues a lot of the issues that I have with Pokemon Sword. The story. Here's the difference. Pokemon Sword, there was at least like a world-ending level catastrophe, crisis happening that you're at least a part of, even though you're not really the hero who's stopping it. In Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, there's none of that. They really tried to push the open world aspects of it, and they just it feels almost like a Ubisoft game, to where it's go to tower, unlock region, go check out all the smaller things, except you don't actually have to go to the towers. That just unlocks a fast travel point in this. You don't actually have to do that to unlock the map of the region. You go into the region, you can see everything. You get the whole map all at once, and you can travel wherever you want, which would be interesting if they had dynamic gyms. If whatever gym you went to first, they would match the Pokemon trainer's level to wherever you are. And so as you were playing through the game, you had a consistent level of difficulty going forward. But they don't. They open up the entire world for you, but certain areas are still easier. You know, you're supposed to, for instance, you're supposed to head east. Once you make it to the main hub where your school is, you're supposed to go east and then sort of work your way southwest and then up and over to the north. And there's a certain way you're supposed to go. But I didn't. I went west, and I wound up being so overpowered by the time I had curved around to the eastern edge that I had to go through like 3 gyms that were frankly just annoying to get through. Oh, catch you later, Ubami. Have a good one. Thank you for being here for, hour, 20 minutes you've been here. I appreciate that. Have a great one. Enjoy yourself. But yeah, there's so much of the game I went through that let's see, I think I pulled up some images here. All right, so here's what the game looks like now. It looks pretty good. I'll say the world itself looks pretty darn good. A lot of the Pokemon designs, they actually look better in handheld mode than from what I've seen on now I just have a 1080p flat screen TV. It's, I don't have 4K or anything like that. But the actual models look pretty good, but overall it's just the gameplay's just not as engaging. It's not as fun. And I think a lot of my issues with it can basically be summed up with the Victory Road portion of the game. Of after you beat all of the gyms, normally you have to go through Victory Road, which is this somewhat linear dungeon, essentially. You have to get through a cave system. You have to get through where there's high-level Pokemon, and you're you're having to just try and push all the way through and using some of your items to finally make it, which, a lot of the game you can just run to a Pokemon Center and heal up, but now you're having to actually use items and use some of your other Pokemon to, you have enough attacks to make it through the entire dungeon, and then you get out on the other side and you heal and you take on the Pokemon League, and they're these super tough battles that sometimes you have to like grind through. I didn't have that experience. There is no victory road in this game. Once you get all 8 gym badges, you just walk right into the Pokemon League. That's it. And then beyond that, in the other previous generations, the Elite Four would have their own individualized rooms that you would go to. Not always. Sometimes they were just sort of the same room and you're just walking through a path. But in particularly the later generations, I want to say like Generation 5 and beyond, they'd have like their individualized rooms that matched what their style was, whatever their preferred type and style was. That goes away in this, to where you don't even go on to another room. They come to meet you, and then they're having conversations with each other between the battles. Because I need more conversations, apparently. I just want to walk up to an Elite Four guy and then be like, oh, so you think you can take me on? Well, good luck. I'm, trying to get through all of my poison. Or I hope you brought some salve because you're getting burned in this match. That's all I want. But no, they're in there having these conversations. One of them literally cries. Like after you beat him, he literally cries. And I don't get it. I just don't get it. In short, I didn't like Generation 9. I don't like it. I'm through the main story. I have to go back and beat all of the other gym leaders again, but I'm like so overpowered that it's not even much of a challenge. Like I'm taking on the gym leaders for a second time, and they're like, I don't know, level 65 right now. My highest level Pokemon is 95. Like I'm kicking the crap out of them. It's not even close. So don't really care for it personally. I think they peaked. They peaked in Generation 6, and I think that was 2013, 2012, 2013. So like 10 years ago, unfortunately, that's when Pokemon peaked, and it's kind of been downhill since then. That's just my opinion. I mean, a lot of other people have been enjoying Scarlet and Violet. I think it's reminiscent to the same issues I have with Dungeons and Dragons, and that the newer versions, particularly 5th edition for Dungeons and Dragons, it's sort of designed for newer players, which I understand. You're trying to open yourself up into a wider market, especially these days where you have the internet and you have a lot of people out there playing. You want to make a game that's going to have a longer storyline to it to try and increase the visibility of people playing it online, and you want the game to look good because that aids as well. But this game really fucking dropped the ball on it looking good. I mean, this thing has more bugs than Paris Hilton's panty drawer. It has problems. The game has issues. They haven't fixed it yet, which that is very unlike Nintendo. Nintendo is usually very picky about making sure their games look good. Like, remember when the Switch first came out and we got Breath of the Wild, and that first time you walk out of the shrine and you see the world before you, and it's this breathtaking, panoramic view of everything before you, and you think, oh, there's so much to explore here, and there was this massive map for you to go through. This really engaging world with different enemy types and puzzles, and an engaging story that you'd have to go through that you don't have to engage with too much, and you can take on it. You really can take on like Breath of the Wild in whatever order you want. Now, some of the sections are going to be a bit more difficult than others, and you might have to do a bit of grinding here and there to get certain items before you go to the other ones, but it's going to have levels of difficulty throughout either way. However you go about it, not in these games. They tried making an open world game while giving it a linear design. if you don't follow the gym path, you're going to be over leveled at a certain point in time, and you're going to feel bored, and you're going to feel like you're just having to go through certain gyms just to get through the story. It's unfortunately sad. Wanted to address a couple of comments here. Soul Assassins. Yeah, my Pokedex looked like the original style, and you had to type the number to see that Pokemon. Dude, that's friggin' cool. That is friggin' cool. Sorry, I thought I had a notification on my phone. I didn't. Phantom buzzing. Only ever played Gold version. It gets a bit better after Gold version. You got a couple of generations where it's pretty solid there. Man, even the Gen I love is huge, or the Gen 1 lore is huge. For example, Jesse's mom called him Miyamoto had a lore. I learned so much. Also, so much nostalgia right now. Oh yes, a lot of nostalgia in the Pokemans. That's what it's all about. Too many Pokemon now. I haven't played since Gold version, and it was around 300. Yes, I think Gold version was like, I think they added about 100 Pokemon with that one. I think it was around 250. Yeah, that's, like I said, I think they kind of peaked with Generation 6. It was 721, which was a lot back then. But within those 4 games, I mentioned earlier, within those 4 games, you could get every single one of the Pokemon just out of those 4 games. You can't really do that anymore. That's why they had to actually take away what's known as the national dex. So typically you would have a regional dex. As you're playing through the normal game, you're only going to have access to like 300 to 400 Pokemon typically. And then after you beat the main game, that opens up the national dex, which now you can find more Pokemon. It would typically unlock more Pokemon in different regions. And that would open you up to the entirety of the dex. And I think now they're up to like 1,000 roughly Pokemon you can get. Which it would actually be kind of cool if in like Scarlet and Violet they opened up the national dex. Maybe I just haven't gotten to that part of the game yet, but I'm pretty sure it's not a thing because they haven't really done it since Generation 6. To where, you beat the game as you're playing through it, access to 300 to 400, you get through the Elite Four, you unlock the national dex, and then it's like, bam, there's like 700. You thought you were doing well. You thought you were getting through most of the decks there. You thought you were hot shit on a silver platter. No, incorrect. You were a cold booger on a paper plate. Get ready for now 700 you're having to collect. And it's a real challenge that they gave you in those games. Now it's just like 400 is all you need. Anything beyond that is just complimentary if you want to go get it. And it's kind of unfortunate. Well, I have ranted about Pokemon for an hour and a half here. So in my personal opinion, if you want to enjoy some solid Pokemon games, pick yourself up a 3DS. 3DS XL would be the better way to do it. And grab yourself some Generation 6 games. Grab yourself Generations 4, 5, and 6. That's really like the peak years of Pokemon. Grab yourselves Pokemon Y, Black and White 2, and Soul Silver, Heart Gold, Platinum. Those are the best Pokemon games, in my opinion. Oh, all right. One more comment I'm going to address here. By the way, the original Pokemon intro song rocks. Yes, it does. Fun story about the original Pokemon intro song. Gotta catch them all. I have watched strippers sing that song quite loudly to an entire strip club of very confused men. So, it was my buddy's bachelor party. He didn't want a bachelor party. He didn't want to go to the strip club. We dragged him to the strip club. It's not his thing. We didn't care. We dragged him anyway. This dude's basically an adult man-child, which, to give him credit, he is actually the most mature out of any of my friends because he's the only one making a family. Like, he's married, has a house, and now has a kid, and is, a good dad and everything. So a lot of credit there to him. But he didn't want to go to the strip club. We drag him to the strip club. This is not a fancy strip club. We didn't go up to Atlanta to a fancy strip club. We went to the local strip club, which is literally called Strippers, and their tagline is, "Need we say more?" And they have trucker parking. To fully paint the picture for you, that is the place we go to. You can request songs at Strippers. Now you have to pay. You got to pay for everything at a strip club. You can request songs at Strippers. And so, in proper fashion for our buddy, who's a bit of a grown man child, we picked a couple of things that he liked. You get to pick 3 songs. We chose the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles cartoon theme song, Turtles on a Half Shell, Turtle Power. The Pokemon theme song, and I'm straining to remember what the third one was. But I know that, it was, I definitely remember Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And the strippers were singing that one too. It was quite good. There were a couple other people in the club who were just like very confused, but were at least like, they remembered the song. Then the Pokemon song comes on, and nobody was ready for it. The strippers went nuts. Every single one of them is loudly singing, "Pokemon, gotta catch 'em up." They are singing their hearts out to it. Every single guy in that club, other than my friends, because we had to go up to the front, right? Like the DJ told us, the MC told us, like, if I'm going to play these songs, you and your friends got to get up to the front of that stage, and you have to tip these girls, because no one else is going to tip the dancer that gets the cycle of songs. It's the only way it goes. Tell all of your friends to get like $20 out and tip this girl, because she's not making money for these songs and it's not fair to her. We're like, all right, yeah, we'll do that, not a problem. So we all get like $20 out for this to do, have them sing this. But this was a once in a lifetime thing of seeing a bunch of strippers sing the Pokemon theme song avidly. They were enjoying the hell out of it. Nobody else was. And for that, it was a beautiful moment. It burned forever into my memory in the best way possible. I'm so happy that happened. But either way, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's about time we call an end to this rant. I've given you an hour and a half of Pokemon rants. I want to thank everybody who showed up here. Your Bommy, Daniel, Soul Assassin, thank you for showing up right here toward the end of this. Heron, was glad seeing you here. Small Time Republic, glad having you as well. Zombie Box Reviews, Duck Dangerously, Phil TMNT. Thank you everybody for showing up here. I think I covered everyone who came in. Phil, I will catch you later over on Ord's board. Let's see. I have a link here. I have a link. All right, here is where you can catch me later this evening over on Ord's board for the Friday night after party, where we play Mario Kart and talk some mad shit to each other. And there you go. There's the link. Everybody, please hop on over there. I don't think I have raids set up for this channel. I have them set up for my other channel, and I don't know how to properly do them yet. I need to figure all of that out so that I can raid people in the future, because I know typically he doesn't start for a few hours though. That's the only problem, is he starts a bit later. I'm going to check and see if he's given us an update so I can give you a time period. Let's see. Nope, nothing from Ords as to when that is going to happen yet, but later this evening, go to that channel, give him a subscribe. Later this evening, we will be doing the Friday night after party, Mario Kart shit talking. I'm going to kick the crap out of Phil. Also, thank you, Daniel. Next week's film is going to be, it's right before Christmas. It's Friday, 2 days before Christmas. Got to do some kind of Christmas movie. We are doing Tim Burton's A Nightmare Before Christmas. It is both a Halloween and a Christmas movie all at once. Two excellent holidays. Smash them together. Next week, Nightmare Before Christmas, we're probably going to get taken down by YouTube again because of the music, not even for the film, but because of the music. But you know what? It's not really a blast from the past review if we aren't skirting the lines of what the algorithm is going to allow. So that's just how we do things over here. Okay, just got an update from Ords. Going to be going live sometime here soon. I don't think we have. Do we have? All right, yeah, he's just saying he'll be going live soon. So keep an eye out for that. Ords board main channel for him. Come check us out. Get ready for some solid Mario Kart action. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, had a wonderful time. Glad you came. Oh, there we go. More old man burps right at the end. Glad you came here to join me. I hope all of you have a wonderful weekend. Glad you came here for your Friday nights with me. It means a lot. Other than that, ladies and gentlemen, be excellent to each other. Party on, dudes.
No. He's looking at you, kid.
Goodbye, Boo.
Kitty.
Kitty has to go.
I'll see you. Not if I see you first.
Hello.
Grandpa? Maybe you could come over and read it again to me tomorrow.
As you wish.